Mo Farah last night paid tribute to his former PE teacher in a BBC documentary which detailed how he was rescued from alleged child slavery.
The four-time Olympic champion revealed that he was brought to the UK from Somalia illegally. He eventually confided in his PE teacher, Alan Watkinson. Alan then helped him to be placed with a foster family and then to obtain British citizenship. Here's what Mo had to say about him. Well, joining us now is that man who turned Mo's life around, Alan Watkinson. Well,
good morning.
What an incredible documentary. It's a secret that you have held all these years. How was it for you when you got that phone call from Mo to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to tell the truth finally?
It was a very sort of really interesting moment because I know that a lot of his friends were saying to him, "Are you sure? Do you really want to do this? Can't you just leave it alone? You've got a really really nice life. This could cause you all sorts of problems." But I know Mo, when he decides he wants to do something, he more often than not goes ahead and does it. And more often than not, his instinct is right.
Were you worried about it? Did you advise him not to do it? Or?
No, I didn't. No, I talked to him, I listened to him, and I knew from what he said to me that he had to do it. It was something that he really was very, very exercised about.
It's an extraordinary story, Alan, isn't it? Because he is so well loved and well known globally, but particularly here in the UK. We adore him because of what he's achieved in our national colours, and he's run for us, and and I was fortunate enough to be there at the Olympics in 2012, and I've met Mo on a number of occasions. I've played football with him. I know what an extraordinary character he is. And he's never not jubilant and happy and bubbly and full of beans and keen and enthusiastic. And there's this really dark story from how he got here in the first place. Having been trafficked, clearly someone in his family benefited from the fact that he was being trafficked and allegedly sold into slavery when he first got here. Something that you knew about because he confided in you and you helped save him from that situation. Was it difficult for you watching Mo's profile get higher and higher and higher and him selling a story about his history that wasn't true? Because I was watching, in the documentary, they show him being interviewed by Jonathan Ross, talking about the fact he came and he saw his dad, and of course his dad, that's not true, his dad died in the Civil War. Gosh. That must have been difficult for you to watch, knowing he's having to sell a lie.
Yeah, really difficult. But he was in that situation where really he had no other option. I think the progress that he was making as an athlete, the knowledge that if this story came out at any particular time, what would that mean for him? And I believe he locked that away because he wanted to focus on the thing that he was focused on, the thing that drove him. And when questions about that came up, he dealt with them in a very sort of...
And when you were Mr. Watkinson and not Alan, so I feel like to teachers you can never say their first name. When you were Mr. Watkinson to little Mo Farah, what was he like then? And what was it? Can you remember the moment when you thought, there's something up with this kid and I don't get it?
It was he was always in PE and sport. He came alive because that was the one way he could express himself, and that was the one way that that was the one enjoyment that he had. So I saw a very different side to him that I think other people saw. He was quite aggressive in his first year at school. He had no access to the curriculum because he couldn't speak the language, and he had a really, really difficult time. And
what was it? At what point did you? I know this is probably in the documentary. I haven't actually seen it yet. It's on the iPlayer, isn't it? But you then, it's a big step, isn't it? And it just highlights what teachers have to do. It's more than just teaching in a classroom. It's more than just the curriculum. I mean, it's safeguarding. From the minute they walk through the gate to the minute they leave, and even afterwards. I mean, it's been a part of your life. Just tell me about that safeguarding aspect and why you've decided that actually I've got to step in here. It's a big moment for a teacher. It
is a big moment for a teacher. I think with the profession, I think the most important thing as a teacher is that you are teaching a child, and that your subject is secondary to that child. The child is the person that matters most, and without them being developed and having all the skills that they need, the subject will never, they'll never gain a love for the subject and develop their interest in that subject. And
just for you though, personally, back then.
Yeah, and safeguarding now has become a major issue and is a national issue, and the systems around safeguarding now are so rigid and so documented that anybody in the situation that I was in now have an absolute
good structure,
manual and template.
But you had to go on instinct.
To a certain extent, you know, I wouldn't downplay the role of the school that I was teaching at and the systems that they had and the people in the senior management positions and positions of working with external agencies. Those people really knew their stuff.
What's that moment, though, like, Alan, when Mo came to you through another child who was Somalian who had better English, because he couldn't really explain to you exactly the detail of this, and he said his story, and you suddenly realised one of these children in your care had been brought over to be a servant to another family and was living as that servant?
I mean, it was you know, you have people approach you and say, you know, could I have a minute of your time, and could I explain something to you? And you start to think, you know, what could it be? What might it be? You start to sort of speculate, and there is just no way that, you know, I would have guessed. I mean, maybe naivety as a youngish PE teacher, and his head of year, of course, at the time, and it was a real bombshell, a real bombshell.
It's a remarkable journey he goes on. When he eventually, the identity of Mo Farah was forced upon him when he came to the UK. He took someone else's identity, and he gets to speak to that Mo Farah that should have come at the end of the documentary on FaceTime. And I think it's testament to Mo and his spirit that he thanked this Mo Farah for giving him his... I mean, not that this Mo Farah had any choice in it.
No.
But giving him that name because he's been able to use that name and he's gone on. I wonder what this will mean for Mo, having got the story out, and also the fact that the police are saying they're now going to be in a criminal investigation into the circumstances surrounding him coming here.
I mean, he has always been the person that you see in the documentary, and I think that, you know, hats off to Leo and Hannah and the Atomised team for portraying that documentary in the way he did, because that's who he is. And you know, you've played football with him. You know, I've known him for a considerable time, part of his life, and he is just such a generous and lovely guy. And you know, you always forgive him everything because, you know, he turns up with this great smile on his face and he's such engaging company. And I think you'll probably see more of him now. You know, the guard will be lifted, and you will see the real not Mo Farah, but you'll see Mo for what.
And will he welcome that criminal investigation? Do you think, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he wishes ill of anybody, and I don't think that wasn't his aim. He didn't go into it seeking any retribution or wanting anything like that. You know, he went into it really for his own benefit, in terms of and for also to expose you know, what some people are going through and
to get some answers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
that was... Alan, you're a hero. You know, you've changed someone's life, and you've given the gift of Mo Farah to all of us, because who knows what would have happened to him if you hadn't spotted it. You know, and I'm sure there's children now somewhere in this country who are being missed by the system. And, you know, I know you train teachers now, but I think you're an incredible example. And, you know, for all of us who don't teach our children, you know, we look at teachers in a new light when we hear stories like that, and it really raises the respect level. I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very kind. But
no, but it's true. It's also very true. Thank you so much, Mr. Watkinson. Thank you very much. Sir, we should have stood up as he walked in the room. It's sort of like Pavlova's dog that I was to get up.
Do check out the documentary. It's on iPlayer, because it really is incredibly compelling in the story, and there's a lot of questions that are still unanswered, as Alan was saying, and hopefully Mo and his family get the answers that they so richly deserve.